Hey guys, Jason here. So, I wasn't going to make a video, but anyways, I just wanted to go over a few things and just show you something that I I basically learned back in 2004. The same year my daughter was born. And about the same time that Stellarium came out, right? And well, that's when I learned about in Stellarium is about the year my daughter was born. And it wasn't about 2005 is when I actually, started playing around with the program, right? And it was fairly new, right? It wasn't, it still had its glitches and all that sort of stuff. But anyways, what I wanted to talk about to you about is goes to that Revelation 12 sign, right? The woman and the beast, right? Or the woman and the dragon, right? And this is what I keep reiterating, guys. Okay, that story is talking about every human being on this planet. When it talks about that they waited for the child, for the man-child to be born. Okay, that's everyone that's on the earth. Okay, every woman that delivers the baby, that child is an anointed child. Whether you guys like that or not, okay, everyone's an anointed child. It doesn't matter who. All these deceivers, all of them, they're all anointed. They're all created. Okay, they're all created beings. And this is what people don't understand. Okay, when you put the idol Christ before yourself, okay, well, what you've done is you're selling out your birthright. Your birthright as being an anointed child. Okay, and that anointed child has expectations to obey God's commands. But what has happened is the dragon or the devil comes along, right, and waits for the child to be born. That is the religion, whether it be Judaism, Islam, or Christianity. They're all there. They're waiting there for the child to, give it their religious indoctrination, right? That's what that story is about. Okay, when that happens, when you're basically selling out your birthright to the devil. This is what the parents are doing to their own infant. Because the infant has already been born in water. If you understand, the birthing process, the baby's in an amniotic sac, that's the water of life, guys. Okay? And that's what you're born in. That's what Jesus was trying to explain. He was saying you must be born of water. Okay? Well, everybody is. Okay? So what does that have to do with Christianity? What does that have to do with religion? Right? See, that's what people are misinformed about, right? They're deceived, okay? And that's the delusion that everybody is in right now, right? Instead, we have these Christians, just because this person's not a Christian, he's considered, he's Satan, he's an evil guy. This is what Christians do, okay? Christians are the most vile, lying pieces of shit on this planet. Okay? They're arrogant. They don't know anything. All right? And they're assuming they're saved by the murder of an innocent man after God had already placed, thou shalt not kill. Right? And God does not pardon the murder of innocent people. 2 Kings 24:4. Okay? There's countless verses where God has already protected you. That is what you want to call the armor of God. Okay? To know that you're already protected by God by keeping His commands. But when you deny those commands and you follow the ways and the opinions of men, okay, which is selling out your birthright, okay, you have put yourself in bondage to the devil's religion. This is what people don't understand. We see this on every YouTube channel that considers themselves these religions. Very dangerous. So what I want to talk to you about is the covenant. Okay? The covenant where everyone thinks, when you watch these Noah movies and all that, the covenant was a rainbow in the clouds. No, it wasn't a rainbow, guys. Okay? The rainbow is not even written as a rainbow. It's written as a bow, as in, an archery bow, right? That's what it's described as. Okay? And the cloud is not an actual cloud. It's Microsoft Cloud, meaning data, right? Storage. Okay? That's what that's talking about. See, when you think heaven, you think heaven is some magical place. It's actually inside of a computer. It's a computer, guys. It's data. If you ever opened up a computer, take a look at it. It looks like a little small city. And the city is described as streets of gold. Right? Well, how else do you make a computer? But using gold, precious metals, right? And that's what that's talked about. I realized that when I bought my first computer in 1998. When I opened up a computer to change the graphics or upgrade the graphics card, right? I opened it up and I said, hey, this looks like a little city, right? And it just dawned on me. I'm like, wait a minute. And this is when I began to realize that the internet is where everybody's going to see him. In Revelations 1:7, right, it tells you that everybody's going to see him in the cloud, right? Every face, and those that pierced him will see him, right? Well, like I said, my dialysis arm, right? See, 2 needles pierced my arm, right? That's what makes my arm holy. And that's what holy is. It's not what you think holy is. You know how the religious nutcases say, oh, holy, you got to be holy. That's not what it's talking about. Everyone has a misunderstanding throughout this world. Okay? Well, I'm going to show you. I'm going to give you some evidence, some biblical evidence spoken by Jesus, where he was trying to explain to you that nobody's going to understand the things of God. Nobody is. Because it's why God shows up and shows it to you himself. Right? That's why I said there is so much information I can go through, but I want to go through the covenant. Okay? So Matthew 22:29. Okay? The numbers, right? 2 plus 2 is 4, right? 2 plus 9 is 11, so 4:11. Or 4:2, as in 42 months, right? Or flip it around is 24, right? So Jesus answered and said unto them, ye do err, not knowing the scriptures, nor the power of God. This is where everybody is at right now. Okay? Because everyone's taking it upon themselves, all these false deceivers that are on YouTube, right? They don't know the danger that they're putting other people in. Okay? Here they're brainwashing their own people, and here Jesus is telling them clearly that nobody's going to know the scriptures. Only God's going to know those scriptures. Okay? Okay, now we go to Matthew 5:19. Right? So, whosoever, therefore, shall break one of these least commandments, and shall teach men so, he shall be called least in the kingdom of heaven. But whosoever shall do and teach them, the same shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. When Jesus is telling you, Jesus never studied the New Testament. So you need to eliminate yourself away from the New Testament. This is, when you talk about the leaven and unleavened bread, okay, you need to understand what that actually means. Okay, God's command, all right, is the pure bread. This is what you're expected to consume. Okay, and when you fast, it's not an actual, abstaining from food. It's actually abstaining from men's opinions, because that's the leaven. Okay, you basically have to leaven it out, whatever that means. But the whole point is, right, anything to do with men's opinions, Don't trust it. Okay? What Jesus is talking about, Jesus is like a reference guide and to you to understanding what the Old Testament is talking about. That's the whole point. Because when you're expected to follow Jesus, you're expected to follow him into the Old Testament. Right? That's how you build your relationship with God. Not to sit there and diddle-dally with what Peter's saying or all this useless opinions, what men are saying. Oh, God's mighty. God's this, God's that. And, oh, Christ is in me. It's all about me. Me. That garbage. That's feeding your flesh, which God had warned against in Ezekiel 34:10. Because God had already pulled his commands away from men. So when God pulled his commands away, it becomes a curse to other men. And that's where we're in right now. We're in the curse. That's why we see these events happening throughout the world right now. The price is increasing, right? People are struggling. Man, the people are struggling. I'm watching them. I'm trying to help them, guys. I'm trying to point people to the direction to try and help people with these channels that are trying to help people guide other people. Like, for instance, I watch some of these channels that go on these challenges, right? These food challenges, going to the most cheapest places or a food supermarket, and they go on there and they say, well, here, I have $20. What can we use for $20? Okay, so that is helping this is what you're talking, what you're expected to help others. That's what it's talking about. That's how you love your neighbor. You don't sit there, preaching your garbage Christian religion to others, making other people feel bad, being an asshole. Because that's what these Christians are. They're assholes. And I can't stand them. Right? Not only they don't understand who Jesus was, they don't understand who the Holy Ghost was. So when you blaspheme that Holy Ghost by ignoring what Jesus is talking about, you are committing the unforgivable sin. For instance, when Paul murdered Jesus, when he persecuted him, okay? Paul, his letters are useless. The curse. Okay? And when you're following him, you're blaspheming him, the Holy Ghost. And it's an unforgivable sin. That's why thou shalt not kill exists. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Right? The commandments are found in Exodus 20, by the way. So I'm sure you can see all these verses here. These are the verses that I'm showing you right now. This list are the specific verses that the Christians ignore what Jesus speaks about. This is why people don't know. Because the Christians don't want you to know these verses spoken by Jesus. Because if they understood who Jesus and his commands were, right, they would know that they're in trouble. This is why they don't speak them. This is why they go into Paul's words. Because they're already deceived. Right? Okay? Because Jesus is warning you clearly in Matthew 15 verse 8, which he got it from Isaiah 29:13. Okay? So when you know when Jesus is speaking the truth is when you can see the corresponding backup verse where he got it from the Old Testament. So everything that has been spoken about that Jesus all comes from the Old Testament. So it doesn't make Jesus any greater than anyone, a man. He was warning you about the Father's arrival. He was preparing you. That's what his whole purpose was. That's what he came to do. Prepare you for the Father's house. But nobody understands that. Nobody cares. Right? We go here, Matthew 16:24. So 16, what number do you see there? 1 plus 6 is 7. So the seventh day. Right? Which is 2024. What everybody would be in 2024. Right? Then said Jesus unto his disciples, if any man come after me, let him deny himself. Which is basically telling you it has nothing to do with you. Absolutely nothing. So when you see these Christians talking about, all this, you got to encourage one another and all this crap, all this Christian crap. Once you eliminate yourself from the picture, you can understand the Bible much more clearly. That's what Jesus is trying to get you to understand. But nobody cares to understand what Jesus is talking about. Right? If any man come after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross, otherwise the Bible, the Old Testament, and follow me. Yeah, into the Old Testament. Right? So Matthew 19:17. And he said unto them, why call me thou good? There is none but one. That is God. There is none good but one. That is God. But if thou wilt enter into life, keep the commandments. That's quite clear. So when you see these, like there's this one teacher, false teacher, he goes by the name of Greg Jackson. Okay? He's always tried to tell you, don't keep the commandments, but he's always following Paul's words. Do you find it convenient? Paul's trying to tell you, don't keep the commandments. That kind of gives you a red flag there. Anyone that tells you don't keep the commandments is not only disobeying Jesus, you're disobeying God. That's why it's written in there. They don't know the scriptures. And Paul's letters are just letters. They're not scriptures. That's what people need to understand. Okay, so anyways, now back to the whole point of my lesson. So, the covenant. It's not what you think it is. It's actually the 7 planets, otherwise the 7 day. Right? The 7 stars, right? It talks about here in Amos 5:8. Amos 5:8, or shall I say Matthew 5:8. Do you see a pattern? When it talks about what's 5 plus 8, guys? 13. So we go to Revelation 13:13, right? He who brings fire down from heaven in the sight of men. Yeah, that's him. That's God. God Almighty. He's on the earth. That's who I'm trying to tell you who I am. Right? Seek him that makes the 7 stars in Orion. Right? See, they think the covenant is a rainbow. What a load of shit. It's not. It's actually talking about the 7 planets that are in alignment, which started February 17th. Which, for Pete's sake, it tells you in Genesis 7:11. Genesis 7:11, right? On the 2nd day, the 17th day of the month, the windows of heaven were opened. In the time of Noah, 600 years. Well, we're in that time. That 217, right, February 17th, is when all 7 planets came into alignment and it shaped a bow. Right? I'll show you a picture of it that I captured on Stellarium. Right? So, anyways, that 217, remember I told you in my last video about 17:17, right? John 17:17, right? Sanctify them by thy truth. Thy word is thy truth, right? 217 or 28, August 2nd is my birthday. 28, right? 1717 is 88, right? And that's what I'm trying to explain. And 217, right, is Acts 2:17, which is associated with Joel 2:28. God pours out his spirit, right? Same thing with Acts 2:17. God pours out his spirit. See, do you see how the numbers connect? This is the divine that I'm trying to show you. This is what people don't want to see. They fail to see it because they're blind. They can't see. They're blinded by men's opinions, right? So anyways, the bow covenant. This is what this is talking about in Genesis 9:13. I do set my bow in the cloud. Okay? And it shall be a token of covenant between me and the earth. It's not me and man. It's me and the earth. So God is coming to restore the earth. It has nothing to do with men. Men is just a bonus if they obey God or not. God doesn't care whether or not if you obey him or not or whatnot. It's up to you to decide. Okay? And I'm just trying to help you along that path to get you back to understanding who God is and the power that God has. And so I'm showing you by showing you these connections. The ones that people fail to realize, because they don't know the scriptures. They don't know the power of God. And that's who you guys are messing with. For all I care, it doesn't matter to me. Okay? Jason 7:11, right? Which is Genesis 7:11, second day, 17th day of the month, which is when the seventh day began. Right? Seek him that makes the seven stars and Orion, and turns the shadow of death into morning, and makes the day dark with night, that calls for the waters of the sea, and pours them out upon the face of the earth. The Lord is his name. Yeah, my name. Right? Camp Waters. Right? That's my name. Because I'm pouring out my spirit. Okay? Which is my words, my commands. Okay? Amos 5:18. Woe unto you that desire the day of the Lord. You know how the Christians are like, oh, Christ is coming, Christ is coming, Christ is coming. Oh, Christ. Ah. Right? What to the end of the, what is it for you? The day of the Lord is darkness, not light. Okay? And when the Christians always assume, oh, to have the light in you, the light in you. Well, they don't understand what the light is. The light is the law, guys. Proverbs 6:23. That's why it's telling you, right, for the day of the Lord is darkness, not light. Because nobody's keeping God's commands. Do you guys understand what I'm trying to say now? Right? God has expectations. Just like if you go into a job interview, right? The employer has expectations for you. God has the same thing too, regardless what Paul says. Regardless even what Jesus says. God is telling you, or what Jesus is trying to tell you, keep the commandments. Obey God. How hard is that? Not. Because that's what the burden is, light. That's why Jesus said that. He says, I had made my burden light. I made my burden the law. Do you guys understand? That's why I said you guys just don't know what the scriptures are actually saying. So anyways, I'm going to show you that picture now. See, I realized this. I knew exactly this was coming just by using the program Stellarium. I knew in 2017 and how this was all going to be fulfilled based on a verse. Exodus 20:20. Exodus 20 is where the commandments are found. Right? Exodus 20:20, which is what happened in 2020, guys. COVID appeared. Everyone went into lockdown. Right? Everyone throughout the world went into lockdown, all specifically all in one day throughout the world. I'm sure everybody remembers that day. That was March 20th. March 20th, 2020 is my aunt's birthday. First day of spring. Okay, so March 20th, otherwise Revelations 3:20, behold, I stand at the door and knock. Those who hear my voice, I will come and sup with them. Okay, 3:20. When I seen that, I'm just laughing, hey, because I was thinking, oh, these guys are in trouble now. Exodus 20:20. And Moses said unto the people, fear not. God has come to prove you that you sin not. Well, what do you think sin is? Disobeying God's commands. That's why it says the day of the Lord is darkness, not light. So, when I use stellarium, okay, you see here, east, south, right? South, east, and then over here is west. Okay, I'll go as close as I can to the sun. This is during the day, okay? This is at 1700 hours, okay? And we know 1700 hours is 5 p.m. Okay, so Acts 17, verse 5, the house of Jason, okay, which is the house of God. Otherwise, 17 verse 5, what did I say 17 verse 5 is? 1 plus 7 is 8, 8, 5, or 5, 8. Blessed are the pure in heart, they shall see God. Do you see how divine and perfect it fits? So this covenant is the 7 stars that are in the sky, which started, right, 2/17, 2025. Okay? 2 and 2 plus 5 is 7, so 2/7. Two 7 is right here. Okay, so Genesis 2, verse 2, 2, 7th day, on the 7th day, 2/7, 2/7. Right? Otherwise, 2 plus 2 is 4. Right? 4, 3. Otherwise, 7. Right? Or 2 plus 3 is 5. 2, 5. 25, which is 2025. We're in the 7th day. Which is the 7 planets. Mars, Jupiter, Uranus, Venus, Neptune, Saturn, and Mercury. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And there's Orion. That's what Amos 5:8 is talking about, guys. This is the bow covenant, which is being fulfilled right now. Which happens every 7,000 years, guys. This alignment happens every 7,000 years. That's what the planets do. They're formed for you guys to understand this. But nobody understands this. They can't seem to connect it because they're trapped in the Christian religion, in the Jewish religion. They're trapped in it. They're in the bondage, and they don't realize that they're in. They're too busy being fake. Okay? God respects those who respects others regardless of their faith, regardless of their belief. God's kingdom is everyone gets along because God places his word and his spirit back into your heart. That's what Ezekiel talks about. God does it, no one else. That's why God is the one that returns. And that's what Jesus was trying to explain to you. The Father's coming. The Son of Man. You know the Son of Man in the Old Testament? That's the Father. Instead, what the Christians have done, the Son of Man is Jesus. Jesus is in the Old Testament all the time. No, that's the Father. His name is Jason. He existed. He was the teacher of Jesus. When Jesus was in the temple since he was 12 years old, who do you think was teaching him? That's why John 7:16, or John 7:7, 7 day he rested, right? 7:7. These things are not of my own, but my Father's, who has taught me, who teaches me these things. Yeah. So you guys are spitting on the Father, the Heavenly Father, for your Christ idol. Oh, the Christ is coming, the Christ is coming, the Christ is coming. Well, what about God? Where's God? Oh, for laying aside the commandment of God for the traditions of men. Mark 7:8. The 7th day to the 8th day. I hope you guys are following along with what I'm saying, because that's why I said I'm trying to be as patient and make this stuff easy as I can. Right? So that's what that covenant is. It's in the sky. Right? And I had to darken it because the sun will be out, right? Do you see how the sun kind of makes a bow like that? That's what the covenant is. All the planets are in alignment. Nobody's going to teach you this stuff, guys. They're too busy trying to teach you lies. And this is the covenant that God makes with the earth, not with man. Because man had already broken the covenant. Okay? That's why Jesus is not on the throne. Jeremiah 33:17. All right. For thus said the Lord, David shall never want a man to sit upon the throne of the house of Israel. Jeremiah 33:21. Then may also my covenant be broken with David, my servant, that he should not have a son to reign upon his throne, and with the Levites and priests and ministers. Yeah, that's why I said the Hebrew people have been scrapped by God. And the Jewish people, they've been abandoned by God. That's why they suffered in the Holocaust. Because it's already been written in the Bible that God had already abandoned them. Right? That's why it tells you, because they broke the covenant. How did they break the covenant? They murdered Jesus. And hence, we're going to experience the wrath of the Lamb, which is basically saying, people understanding that, they made an error. And the wrath of the Lamb is the Lamb's revenge on mankind. Where it talks about where Jesus is saying, right, if you deny me before my Father, I will deny you. Well, that's what the wrath of the Lamb is. Because Jesus is telling you he's not Christ. And since everybody had already denied Jesus, Jesus is coming to give his wrath and saying, no, I don't want nothing to do with you guys. You didn't listen to me. You put your Christ before my own commands. I told you there is no such thing as Christ. But that's what they're doing. Or shall we go Matthew 16:20? Then charged he disciples that they should tell no man that he was Jesus the Christ. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ. And they shall deceive many. Then if any man say unto you, Lo, here is Christ, or there, believe it not. Mark 13:21. And then if any man shall say unto you, Lo, here is Christ, or there, believe it not. He told you. Jesus told you clearly. If anybody says there's Christ here or there, do not believe him. That's a pretty clear statement. But Like I said, I've dealt with so many Christians. Oh, that's not what it means. They couldn't give me an explanation. They just can't, because it's clear. Jesus already established it. There's no such thing as Christ. That's the idol. So why would Jesus follow the gospel of Christ? There's no such thing. There is no Christ is the body bullshit. There's just God and God's kingdom, God's house, the house of Jason. So that's what I wanted to bring your attention to. So now we go to this really 7-day, Matthew 20 verse 5, which is the 7-day, otherwise 2025. Again, he went out about the 6th to the 9th hour and did likewise, which I'm doing right now when I go to dialysis at Regina General Hospital to pay for your sin with my holy arm, right? I go to dialysis, 2 needles go in my arm, fulfilling Zechariah 12:10. He'll be pierced for the transgression of many, right? 2 needles go in my arm, making my arm holy, right? I take the bandages off, right? You're going to see the scars, my holy arm. Right? That's a holy arm, guys. That's what's paying for your sin right now. Okay? Because I'm the water of life. My blood is going to a dialysis machine to be washed. Right? And even when I go to dialysis, I put on a white blanket. Right? And I cover myself with that, because it gets cold in the dialysis. So it kind of looks like I'm wearing a white sheet over my body, right? And he's covered in white, his robe right to the floor. Well, yeah, that's what a blanket does. Yes. That's what it's describing. And my throne is the dialysis chair. But yeah, that's what my arm does. It pays for the sin of humanity. I gotta try and find this here. So let's go. The computers. Isaiah 45:3. And I will give thee the treasures. I'll give thee the treasures of the darkness, and the hidden riches of secret places, that thou may know that I am the Lord, which call thee by thy name. I am the God of Israel. Isaiah 44:8. Fear ye not, neither be afraid. Have not I told thee from that time, and have declared it, that ye even are ye my witnesses? Is there a God beside me? Yea, there is no God. I know not any. Isaiah 56:1. Thus said the Lord, keep ye judgment, and do justice, for my salvation is near to come, and my righteousness to be revealed. Yeah, you guys would think you see my name. I'm showing you everything that you guys, no one even knew. So anyways, I think I'm going to end it at that note. But I appreciate you guys. I hope what I'm saying makes sense because I'm showing you the evidence and the proof straight from the Bible, guys. I have no reason to lie to you guys I'm not benefiting anything. I'm not making any money like these false prophets are. I'm not, I don't have to do this, but I am doing this because I've been doing this since I was a kid, helping people understand what the Bible's saying. I'm connecting the dots for you. I'm showing you these secret things that people don't have no clue that they don't know, right? And yet you see all the false teachers where people are flocking to. And we know the 6th and the 9th hour, right? Which I'm on dialysis from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. 3 hours. Okay? And if you look at the numbers here, Matthew 24:27, for his lightning comes out of the east and shines even unto the west. Yeah, because I'm in the west. My spirit name I was given when I was an infant, Koepeoteotambenese, that's how you say it in my language, first thunderbird that flies west praying. Okay, that's the name I was given when I was an infant. Okay, by an elder. That's my spirit name. Okay, and the thunderbird, if you're familiar with the thunderbird, have you ever seen a totem pole? Okay, a totem pole is in the shape of a cross with the wings. Where it talks about you'll be under his wings. There's verses. I'm sure many Christians understand that. Well, that's what that's talking about. I'm trying to cover you with my wings, my knowledge. Okay, so the totem pole represents the cross. Okay, otherwise a dead tree, which is symbolic. It's all metaphors, guys. So anyways, now if you look at these numbers here, 2 plus 4 is 6. 2 plus 7 is 9, so 6, 9. See, the answers are right in the numbers and right in the verses itself. Right? Matthew 24:36, same thing, 6, 9. But of that day and hour knows no man. No, not the angel of heaven, but my Father only. Yeah, I'm telling you. Exactly. Precisely. Fulfilling my purpose. Matthew 27:45, which is 2 plus 7 is 9. 4 plus 5 is 9. 9, 9. The 99. Now, from the 6th, there was darkness over the land unto the 9th hour. Yeah, because when you're at 6 p.m., it gets pretty dark. I'm on dialysis at that time. Right? Mark 15:33. Or 1 plus 5 is 6. 3 plus 3 is what? 6. 6, 6, right? So 9, 9, 6, 6. From the 6th hour to the 9th hour, darkness came over the land. Luke 23:44. Or otherwise, Matthew 5:8. Blessed are the pure in heart, they shall see God. From now it was about the 6th hour, and darkness came over the land until the 9th hour. 6, 9, 6, 9. Do you see that, guys? See, nobody wants to go into depth into understanding what Jesus is saying because they're unworthy. And no one would be telling you these things. I've been trying to help you understand these things. So anyways, I thank you. I appreciate you all. Love the Lord your God with your heart, mind, and soul. I didn't come to take away the law of the prophets. I came to fulfill. All right. Thank you. And have yourself a good day and help those guys. Help those around you. Okay? Doesn't matter what faith you're in. What matters is that you help your brother. And these Christians are under delusion of supporting a fake Israel. Israel hasn't been created yet, guys. The spiritual Israel God creates himself. All these men are saying, oh, Israel was created in 1940. It's all lies. That's the deception, which is fulfilling Revelations 3:9 and 2:9. Those who say are Jews, but a synagogue of Satan. Yeah, because there's no such thing as Jews, guys. God creates human beings. So you want to be on God's side. You don't want to be in these religious sides. Go back to your Bible. And based on the information I'm helping you understand, you should understand a heck of a lot more now. How the verses connect and how you can memorize the verses. How they all connect. So again, have yourself a very good day, guys. All right? I appreciate you all. I hope what I say really makes sense and it helps you. Okay? Get out there and help other people understand this knowledge. Because these wicked Christians are destroying people's souls with their lies. There is no rapture. None. They're cults. Christians are a cult. The Jews are a cult. Islam is a cult. There is just God's kingdom, and God expects you to be a human being. Start acting like it. Have yourself a very good day, guys.